So this bloody thing jumps out of the water, and it's like, Christ, what is that? And, you know, we knew there were sharks in the harbour. Everyone had sort of said that, seen them jump out of the water now and again. Man, then the seeds planted. You know, I don't have to be rich to go and have fun. Everyone's going over the bar in these big gin palaces. I don't have one of those. I've got a $3,000 park craft with pot rivets. I'm going to have a crack at this. I'm going to have one go, one of these big fish. And that's how the story or the seed was planted. The first time I sat there on my own, it's a February morning, there's no wind. And usually there's wind at that time of the year, sea breeze, but there's no wind. And I'd finished milking and I'd gone, I'd capped it. I'm now in the harbour. And you can hear everything. You can hear the pot rivets creaking in the boat. Your feet are wet and it's dead still. And then the reel moves. You hear this click, 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 click. And I've got a big boat over the side. And only certain things are going to eat that. And in that moment, your heart, it's really pumping, right? It's like, far out, how big a fish could I or might I catch? You know, I had heard stories of they call it Brutus, was the name that they gave to this big fish. And it was a 1,000 kilo fish by all estimates, 18 feet long. And now your brain goes, right? And at that point, you're going, this is really dumb. So I race up, throw the clutch on the rod, race up the front and pull the anchor. And now trying to start this bloody motor. So it's flooding and I'm going, oh God, please, now I go. Bursts into life and I go in the opposing direction to where I think the fish is and put the boat into neutral. And now I'm winding the slack up, thinking, well, the fish was there and I've gone that way, right? Get the hell out of it because this thing could be really big. Well, then it's over here. Like, oh, how did that happen? In the end, it was so hard to hold and wind this thing in. I stood up, pulled the motor up because I was on my own, and just let this thing tow me around. It ended up being a great white shark, and it was 100 kilos, a bit over 100 kilos. Now, a lot of people will get upset at this point because they're saying, oh, look, this is a great white shark. You've taken out of the ocean. It was very legal in 2001. That's the first thing I'd say. So 3 weeks later, I go down with a mate of mine. Highly improbable that I'd catch another. Well, hell's teeth. Did I catch one all right? Nearly 400 kilos when it was finally landed. So we're in 18 metres of water, probably about 5 kilometres offshore, as it were, in the centre of the harbour. And it's towing us everywhere. It's towing us down to the heads, it's towing us up the harbour. And my mate's going, Christ, we're going to lose this thing. As we're up in the oyster beds, you know, we're in 6 feet of water and you can sort of see the shoal, as it were. Well, I wasn't going to bloody lose it. I'd worked too hard to get it. 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours later, I get this thing close to the boat. And I thought, Christ, now what am I going to do? So I got out. I got in the water. I walked as much as I could towards the beach, trying to negotiate the oysters and keep the nylon more, was the point, away from the sharp rocks. And I went, bugger me, this thing could have me. And I managed to get on the beach, as it were, went on sand. And I'm now lifting the rod right up in the sky so it clears all the oysters. And then the dilemma really starts. Like, how do you get it back to the wharf, right? So we cut a piece of the anchor rope off, which you shouldn't really do because you kind of need it. And we reckon we weren't going to go near its rudder. Like all big fish, you touch its tail and they bugger off pretty quick. And, this thing's super powerful. It's going to bowl you off your feet, as it were. But we didn't really want to go to the pointy end either because the pointy end's got all the cutlery in it. Anyway, so I'm now standing on the fins of this thing, and we tied a rope to an oar and managed to dig underneath it because it's now stuck on the sand, and tie a rope just behind the pointy end, the sharp end, and attach to our boat, which we now started to push out and try and get this huge thing off the sand. 2.5 hours later, we get it to the wharf. How cool is this, right? All these people come in. We didn't realise what a fervour we'd created. And then there's probably in the end of it, when we're trying to get this fish to the weigh station, 400 or 500 people, locals come out and they all hear about it. And it took about an hour to get a tractor to lift it on our truck to get it home. With the big one, there was a whole lot of media, as you can imagine, for reasons that I can't explain, but locals got the local rag, and then it became in the Herald, then at one of the Sydney papers. I really do miss those days. It really was a cool part of my life and a cool part of the community's sports fishing activities, you might say.